We brought that in here.
Welcome to the Ask a Realtor Show, take 2018.
This is our 18th show. I would like to welcome everyone and introduce you to our newest agent, Sean Rivera.
Hello, how are you?
Although he looks like a movie star, he is not.
No, no.
This is his first live show with us. And our topic today is
Septic systems.
septic systems. All right, we're on.
Real crappy conversation today.
You fit right in here. We're also excited to share with you that we have a new microphone, so hopefully you can hear us all a little better and a bit more clear. And if not, I'm sending it back. So first of all, for septic systems, there's two main types. There's not only two types, there's many different types, but the two main most common types are an in-ground system, which was very common 20 or 30 years ago, and an above-ground system, affectionately known as a turkey mound or a sand mound. You've heard those terms applied. Are you going next?
You're going to go first and explain.
Oh, okay. So, we practiced. Actually, we didn't practice because Dunkin' Donuts now has donut fries, and that was the topic of the conversation in the office for the past few minutes. So an in-ground system, there used to be one tank that would hold the solids, and then the liquids would flow to a drain field, or a leach field it can be called, where the liquids would just evaporate or go into the ground. An above ground system today has 2 or 3 tanks actually. One tank is for the solids. The liquids go to a second tank, referred to as a dosing tank, yeah? Mm-hmm. And there's a pump in there that pumps the fluids, or effluent, it's a nice word for it, to the sand mound. So the layers of sand and soils help filter those liquids before they go back into the ground. Did I do good?
I think so. Which one's the most common around here?
The older types, the in-ground was, but over the years they have made the requirements more strict. So now it's very, very common to have sand mounds. Very, very few properties now qualify for a standard or in-ground system anymore.
Good to know. I'm going to talk about a couple problems or common scenarios that happen with septic tanks. The first thing is tree root damage. Roots from trees or shrubs can grow through the walls of the septic tank and then obviously cause damage. Do you know how to take care of that? What they do to take care of it?
If the tank is cracked, they may have to. If the tree roots grow through the PVC pipe, they can just replace part of the PVC pipe. But if it damages the tank can be replaced.
Got it. Another common problem is a collapsed baffle. A baffle is a barrier within the tank that stops the solids from going into the drain field or the sand mound. So if the baffle's broken, then your solids are going to go into the drain field or the sand mound, which is a problem.
You did that well. By the way, we did ask a few septic companies if they wanted to be a guest today, and the common response was, "We're working at 5 o'clock." So we're doing this ourselves, but we want to preface it by saying we're not experts. Always consult the expert. This is just for a little realtor viewpoint of what we run into and some like an overview.
Another common problem is just a lack of maintenance. Septic tanks should be emptied regularly, like 2 to 3 years max. So as long as you're emptying them and getting them pumped regularly, then you shouldn't have an issue with that.
And if you don't like the idea of doing it every 2 or 3 years, Christina, do you want to tell them what can happen if they don't clean their septic system after a long time?
I shall. Right now, or you want her to finish first?
Well, right now we want to scare them because she just said about the 2 to 3 years thing.
Well, it takes years off the life of the system. That's the main thing. If you're not cleaning it out very much, which we'll talk about in a few minutes on how long each.
Tell them the yucky part.
That overflow.
Backing up.
Oh,
yes,
back
thank
up.
you. Yes, it will back up into your house. I ran into that problem last week. It was backing up into the kitchen sink during an inspection.
Oh.
Thank God.
So yes, it's true.
Yeah, it
And,
can come in.
Every once in a while, as a realtor, will go in and a seller will say, "My system works so good, I never had to clean it to pump it."
so
Never
funny.
ever.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
just misinformed.
Yeah.
So if you are one of those people, don't panic, but turn off your computer and go call.
You wanted to
Oh,
add
Riddick.
about getting
Go call
risers.
Riddick.
Yeah. You wanted to add about getting risers. That was another common problem we see.
Okay, so the older tanks, it was common that homeowners didn't want anything visible. That was the nice thing about an in-ground system. So sometimes they would bury the lids and then uncover them every couple of years. Often we see now in septic inspections, the inspector will suggest strongly that the homeowner add a riser, which is just a cement circle like a donut, but high enough so that it goes above the ground so it's easily accessible.
That's it. Those are the most common problems we see in this area.
Very good.
You're next.
So life expectancy, these standard systems can have either a concrete tank or a steel tank. So the internet tells us that a concrete tank can last about 40 years or even more, depending on its construction. Poor construction of the concrete tank can definitely take years off its life, and as well as having acidic water. The steel tank, however, they can last up to 20 years, and that is based on the quality of the steel tank as well, and soil acidity. The drain field itself can last around 50 years. Things that can affect its life are the soil percolation rate, the drain field's size, and obviously its usage. More higher traffic area, depending on how many people you got in the house.
That was so good. Oh, there is
The internet
another.
is amazing.
There is another kind of septic system that I guess we didn't mention. We see it every once in a while, and that would be the old basic hole in the ground, and that's called a. Anybody know?
I don't.
Outhouse?
Bucket in the yard.
Yeah. We call it a cesspool. So sometimes you'll see houses around. Sometimes lenders aren't keen if there's a cesspool, but usually the appraiser, if it's common to the area, can state that that is. And that was the old ones were just a hole in the ground with some rocks. Yeah, that's,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
that's not a good note to end on.
So, as a buyer, I guess I have a question as a buyer. If a house had a cesspool and then they had an upgrade, does that still have to be disclosed at some point that they had a cesspool at one point on the property? Because it affects the soil, right?
Another show. This is
Question. See how things come up and we learn while we do
I
these
know.
shows? Anyway,
I
that's
believe on the
a
seller's disclosure.
consumer question.
On
I
the
mean,
consumer
Absolutely.
disclosure, it asks about that. So we will have another show that Christina will head up called
consumer question. That just
Consumer
pop up. Yes,
No,
for
it's
sure.
true. But on that note, it's a process. If you're a buyer, that's why you always want to have a home inspection. And if there's a septic system, I'd probably say 100% of agents will suggest to the buyer to have that tested, because septic system can be one of the most costly repairs. A septic system in our area, now in 2018, runs about $20,000.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that. Sometimes if you have an old in-ground system and it fails, it's come to the end of its lifespan and it's not working anymore. Every township and borough has something called an SEO, Sewage Enforcement
The
Officer.
poop gun.
I've not heard that term.
I was wondering if she's gonna bust that out.
The general rule is you can't put a new system where the old failed system was in the same location. So the property would have to be perk tested at a different site, at a different location on the property, and the new system built. And there's a process for that. Again, perk test, then a septic design, which has to go to an engineer, and The system is designed based on the size of the house, the rate of the percolation of the soil, and then an excavator usually installs the system. It can be done in a few weeks if you've got professionals who are on it. It's not the end of the world. We have faced it. So if you're a buyer and you run into any of these, don't worry, your agent is trained, and we'll walk you through it.
Your Castle Gate agent is trained.
Yeah, if your agent's not trained, you should call us. Did we cover everything?
Mm-hmm.
We did good, right?
Commercial time.
Commercial time. Reduced commissions for. You want to do the commercial?
Sure, I'll do the commercial. We offer reduced commissions for any military, active, or veterans, pastors, and
Police.
first responders.
Police, fire, yeah. Right.
Yeah, police, fire, ambulance. So call us if you want to list your house, and you might get a reduced commission.
We will.
You
Yeah,
will get a reduced
you
commission.
will, for sure.
A little teaser for next week's show. Next week's show is on water treatment systems, and there's a good chance that we will be in a water treatment system. We may be poolside next week, so you don't want to miss that. Well, maybe you do, but join us anyway. Thanks, guys. Oh, we didn't introduce. Should we introduce? Introduce. Go ahead.
Christina.
Aggie.
Courtney.
Sean.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Bye bye.